Welcome to Medicine, Motherhood, and Missions, the podcast where we dive deep into impactful and inspiring conversations with amazing professionals who've turned their challenges into stepping stones for success. I'm Johanna, your host, and each time we meet, we'll explore the stories and journeys of remarkable individuals who are PAs, doctors, professionals, mothers, and mission-driven changemakers, from the halls of the hospitals to the hearts of our homes, and into the communities we serve. Join us as we uncover the challenges, triumphs, and everything in between and see life through each other's perspective. If you're seeking fulfillment in your career and life, I've got something special for you too. Download our free guide on how to be a fulfilled provider. It's packed with tips and insights to help you thrive while balancing the many hats you wear. And for all those parents out there dreaming big while raising little ones, check out Little Evie's Big Dreams children's book series, available now on Amazon. These heartwarming stories inspire kids to chase their own dreams, just like you're chasing yours. So grab your favorite cup of coffee or tea, settle in, and get ready for uplifting conversations that will leave you inspired and equipped to make a greater impact. Let's jump in. Hi, friends. I'm so excited to have today Miss Hope Cook. She is a PA and burnout life coach. She's also a practicing dermatology PA. She's also a wife and mother and the creator of the Physician Assistant Burnout podcast. So she also incidentally loves to do yoga and has completed a master life coach certification. So I'm really excited to talk to you, Hope, and hear your story and journey. And I'm so glad to that you joined the Medicine, Motherhood, and Missions podcast today. Thank you so much.
Thank you. And I'm excited I get to interview you tomorrow for my podcast.
Yeah, that'll be so much fun. And so tell us a little bit about yourself and what you do for fun.
Okay, so I have 2 kids and They are teenagers. So unlike younger mothers, when your kids hit teenage years, they do not want to hang out with you for the most part.
Oh,
I know. I'm not cool anymore. But it's cool because it opens up a whole new world of like figuring out who I am and what brings me joy. I've started going to Pilates with all the young college girls in town.
Because you have time now.
Yeah, I have more time. I love cooking. Like that's one of my creative outlets to create recipes. And I love doing yoga, as you said.
Yeah.
And writing. Writing is fun to me, although I'm working on a book, and that does suck a little bit of the joy out of writing.
Right. When you have a specific time frame.
Exactly.
Well, that's cool. So, yes. So I have a 4-year-old, so I still don't have that freedom yet.
Yeah, you will. It feels like you will never have it, but you will.
But I, as you say, I should enjoy this time now because I might really miss her when she doesn't want to hang out with me anymore.
Yeah.
So I'm really loving this stage though. 4 is a fun age. So your kids are pre-teens, teens, and so that's allowed you to have more flexibility in time. And I like how you said you were writing a book. Tell us a little bit about the book that you're writing.
Yeah, so I feel like I'm pregnant with the book because it has been inside of me for a long time, and it was like a whisper. And I ignored it, and I would write blog posts, or I would just write in a journal, by hand.
Yeah.
And this book wanted to be written. So it's probably been over a year, I started getting serious about writing it, outline my chapters. It is all about burnout, and it's a self-help book. I'm a little obsessed with self-help books. And this one kind of uses life coaching tools to walk clinicians, is specific for healthcare, clinicians through the stages of healing from burnout.
Okay. Wow,
and I'm
that's
done
really
writing it.
You are done writing it?
Yeah, I'm done.
That's exciting.
And I'm editing right now. So that's the not fun part.
Yeah, that's really cool. Did you go through a publisher or self-publishing or?
I'll just self-publish on Amazon.
That'll be fun. Yeah. Yeah. And so, wow, that is really cool. And you already finished it. So hopefully next year we'll be hearing more about this book and the title and the reveal, right?
Yeah, hopefully by March.
Oh, great. That's so exciting. So something to look forward to. Hopefully we can, connect and hear more about that in March. So
Yeah.
that'll be awesome. So how did you start your journey as a physician assistant?
Yeah. So I was a baby.
Mhm.
I was like a junior in high school when I decided I wanted to be a PA.
Uh-huh.
And the main thing I knew was that I didn't want to spend forever in medical school, but I wanted to treat patients.
Uh-huh.
And so I applied. Back then, you could get a bachelor's degree as a PA.
Right. Yeah.
But I was already in the process of getting my bachelor's degree in biology when I got into PA school. So I waited that extra year, decided to get my
Mhm.
master's, and went to Emory University for that.
Okay.
Straight out of undergrad. I had no
Mhm.
business going to PA school with that little experience, but I don't know. Somehow they let me in. And yeah, when I graduated, I was die
Mhm.
hard internal medicine. I was like, that is
Oh.
the real medicine, dealing with all the body systems. I
Uh-huh.
never thought I would work in dermatology.
Yeah.
So moved to the middle of nowhere, South Georgia, worked in internal medicine. And then my husband decided to go back to graduate school.
Oh, okay.
So we were young, we didn't have kids, and we thought,
Mhm.
well, why not move somewhere fun? So we moved to Montana. We'd only visited there once. And I mean, I really had no idea what I was in for with the winters. I didn't have a winter
Mhm.
coat when I moved out there.
Oh
I
my
had like this
goodness.
cute little stylish coat from the Gap.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I just assumed, well, I have 2 years of internal medicine experience. I'll have no trouble finding a job.
Uh-huh.
And I couldn't find a job. My license number was 402, I think. And so they
Uh-huh.
just don't have at the time, they didn't have a lot of PAs out there.
Oh, yeah.
And they didn't use a lot of PAs. And so
Hmm.
I looked and looked. I ended up working
Mhm.
at a bakery for
Oh,
minimum
wow.
wage for
Oh my goodness.
for like 6 months. And then I
Wow.
pieced together like urgent care, student health, and allergy asthma. Like I had three
Wow.
part-time jobs.
Uh-huh.
And so we decided, okay, he's finished with graduate school. We need to be closer to family, but we still weren't ready to move back to Georgia. So we
Uh-huh.
moved to Washington, D.C.
Oh, fun.
And I worked in internal medicine again. And
Mhm.
then we started having kids. And
Mhm.
when we started having kids, we were both like, we need to be close to family. Like
Yeah.
we need help.
Yeah.
So we said, whoever finds a job first in the
Mhm.
desired cities, we had like 3 cities we were willing to move back to.
Yeah.
And I saw that somebody was hiring for dermatology, and I reached out thinking, well, I'll never get it because I don't have experience. But
Uh-huh.
it worked out, and she trained me. And so, yeah, that's how I ended up in dermatology. I guess it's been about 15 years now.
That's awesome. And that's so interesting because you would think that they push PAs as rural practitioners to help with that gap in physician shortages in rural areas. So you would kind of think that you would find more PAs or have more of a need for PAs in Montana, but
You would think, but apparently
mhm.
it's such a desirable place to live that
Oh,
at the
really?
time, I mean, this was 20 years
Okay.
ago, but at the
Mhm.
time, physicians were willing to work for half of their normal salary
Oh, wow.
just for a chance to live, in Bozeman.
Okay.
So they really
That's
didn't have a
interesting.
need for PAs, at least
Mhm.
not in the cities like Bozeman or
Right.
Missoula.
Yeah. Well, yeah, if they're willing to take a pay cut, then they don't need a
Yeah. Now it's
PA.
probably different. That was, a long time ago, but
That's funny. Well, that's so interesting, though. And I love how you just kind of are a hustler and just kind
yeah.
of were you hustled together, three different PA jobs somehow just to keep up with that profession as well.
Yeah, I had huge
And
student
so,
loans, and I was like,
mhm.
I can't be poor. I have to have have to have some money.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and that's awesome. And so, what made you shift into being a life coach? Because you've been enjoying dermatology and you're still in it, but what made you shift into being a life coach?
Well, burnout, really.
Hmm.
So the job that I took in Georgia in dermatology, I ignored a lot of red flags at the interview. The first one was the entire interview, including meeting a few of the office staff, lasted 12 minutes. Like I got back in my car and I know, I got back in my car and I was like, wait a minute. I guess I don't know. That was weird. But I got offered the job. And so I ignored some red flags. It ended up not being the best environment for me. It may be good for somebody else, but for me, it was not good. I was definitely people pleasing and ignoring my own needs and just saying yes, yes, yes when I meant no.
Yeah.
So I found myself in a place where I felt chained to my job. I had a non-compete. So it felt like I had no options. I was either going to have to leave dermatology or leave the area for 2 years. And, I really reached this impasse where I was like, what is, I don't know. I don't have any answers. What's going to happen? And I really had to let go of my control issues and just say, okay, I'm open to possibilities. I don't know what the answer is, but I know I can't stay here. And I mean, really I call it the come to Jesus moment was in a parking lot during lunch. I got rear-ended. So I would go during lunch to this library and get books for my kids or self-help books or whatever. And so one day I was heading back to work and I got rear-ended. And it wasn't a terrible accident, but I had this moment where I was like, oh, I wish I were hurt. I really wish I had been majorly injured, because if I had, I wouldn't have to go back to that place. Yeah. And this was all sort of like floating above myself and just this out of body experience where I'm seeing myself thinking this. And I'm also thinking, Hope, that's crazy. Yeah. Who wants to be hurt? Who would rather be hurt than go to work? And on top of that, it's the holy grail of medicine. It's dermatology, for crying out loud. Yeah. So that was my moment when I was like, something has to change. And so, as is often the case, like you speak like that and then opportunities appear. So somebody at another office in town said, well, why don't you just work at a satellite office? One of their satellite offices. And I said, well, I don't know. I thought about that, but I don't want to drive so far. And she's like, well, you should just consider it. And so that was my step. I took that step. I interviewed, I job shadowed 1 million times to make sure it was a good fit. Yeah. And I mean, really what happened, I never could have planned it. The office manager said, well, what if you worked 3 days a week instead of 5? What if we let you leave your house at the same time every day and come home at the same time? And I was like, how is that even possible? Like I'm driving an hour there, an hour back, but somehow they made it work. And I ended up making more money working 3 days a week. I was seeing more patients, but I had way more support staff. So I think for your listeners who are like, there's no hope. Yeah. As I say in my podcast, there's always hope.
Exactly. This whole podcast is spark hope wherever you are.
Well, and then I forgot your whole question about how did I end up in life coaching. So a little bit obsessed with self-help books. Like reading probably 2 or 3 every week for the last, 10 years, like just devouring them. And my friends would always say like, okay, talk to us. We need some advice or, do your thing. Give us some hope-isms. And I mean, to the point where we started a group, I started like a mastermind with just friends. And this was something that I would do even if nobody paid me. So I would hear that somebody was struggling with like a job situation. And I would say, oh, can I take you for coffee? Like I'm paying for their coffee just to talk to them about their job. And so during the pandemic, my husband was trying to get his PhD. Our kids were much younger. They were homeschooling and it just sucked. It was awful. And I was doing yoga on our back porch and I'd stopped the video and I just started crying and I was on the floor. I was watching the ceiling fan go around and around and I was thinking, what am I going to do? I can't keep doing this. And this was at the job that I really liked with people I liked. And I had this same feeling of like, I can't keep doing this.
Mm-hmm.
So that was the second sort of episode of burnout.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
while I was on the yoga mat, I'm not kidding, my boss called, and he never like calls my cell phone. And so my phone rings, I pick it up, and he says, "Hey, would you be interested in taking a furlough?"
Oh,
And
wow.
I was like, yes, actually I would. And he offered a few of us moms a chance to take a furlough because he knew our kids were at home. So I took about 5 months off. And during that time, I decided to pull the trigger and sign up for a life coaching course. And I was hooked. And the icing on the cake was the tools that I learned in that life coaching course helped completely shift how I saw my job. And I ended up like kind of falling back in love with medicine.
Yeah. Wow. But to get to a place where you pretty much hate your job so much that you just would rather hurt your, like, have that car accident than go back to work that day, that just like is so profound in the whole aspect of burnout, and just the importance of like realizing how burned out you are. How do you get to that burned out place even, and how do you get out of that place? And I love that you were already so full of hope that you were spreading it to your friends and people that were around you. And you kind of realized that that ended up being your whole heart and mission of your whole life, basically, right? Is using that skill set that you had to motivate and help and kind of identify people's needs. So that's interesting. And what amazing how your boss called you out of the blue that day and offered a furlough, just what you needed, even though that was the job that you actually liked. So kind of like, talk to us about like, how do you get to the point of burnout? How do you avoid it? Like, how do you take those steps to make changes? Because you really got to a very low point.
Yeah, so that was the trapped feeling at my first dermatology job. And I think I got there because I kept pushing. I was like, nope, you can plow through this. Burnout was not talked about very much back then. And I thought I was the only one. I really didn't know other people were going through it. So I just kept thinking, I need to buck up. I just need to get stronger. This is a good job. I make good money. I like my patients. Like, why am I not happy? So it was like I kept blaming it on myself. And that car accident really opened my eyes. And that's what I tell people who are going through burnout. This is a wake up call. If you can look at burnout as a wake up call that something needs to shift, it's not that it's your fault. It may not be something you can change. Good PAs happen, bad bosses happen to good PAs, or, terrible salaries happen to good PAs. Like, it's not always your fault, but burnout is a wake-up call that you need to take a big picture look at your life and sort of see what needs to shift. And a lot of times it starts as stress and overwhelm, but you don't, if you don't recognize it and you don't listen to that inner whisper that your life is trying to tell you, then it snowballs. And then burnout is where there's no reprieve. You take time off, you come back, you still feel burned out. Whereas with stress, it's like, okay, if I take time off, I feel better.
That's true. That's interesting also, because stress and burnout always seem to go hand in hand. So it's hard to differentiate the two sometimes as well, right? Just kind of, is it just stress, or am I truly burned out? But I like how you kind of said like, well, if you take time off and you still are stressed and burned out at work, then it's more of a burnout situation where you do need the change versus just a holiday.
Yeah. And I mean, burnout really is a workplace issue. So it tells you like a shadow
Yeah.
So you come back to work, you pull in that parking lot, and you're like, oh, your body lets you know. It's that
Yeah.
dread, that heaviness.
Yeah. It's so funny because my first job as a PA, like over 12 years ago, then I was talking to my boss and I was like, oh, yeah, I was reading an article on burnout. Do you as physicians feel burnout? And he looked at me like totally confused and was like, what are you talking about? Because there are some doctors who they will just work forever. And burnout doesn't, there's no such thing for them, so it's kind of like, does it depend on our personalities? What, like that, or what kind of is it, how do we kind of like get out of burnout? I know you were saying like it wasn't just your mindset. It wasn't just like, how you reacted to your workplace, but it was something you really felt you needed change.
Yeah. And the second time it was different because everything was great on paper. It was more of a pull towards something. And I think that something was life coaching. I didn't know it at the time, but I was letting my work, my career be at my center and define who I was. And I'd reached a point, I've been a PA for over 20 years, and I'd reached a point where it just didn't fill me up anymore.
Yeah.
And I remember meeting with my office manager. He does a lot of strength finders, and he had done my strength finders. And so I sat in his office and I said, why do I just how am I using my strengths here? And so we went through one by one and looked at them, and he's like, okay, well, how do you use your learner? And I was like, I've been doing this long enough. I don't really feel like I'm still, I'm not in that eager, like, oh my gosh, every day I'm learning a million new things.
Yeah.
And so I can't remember what my others were, but it turns out once you start looking outside of your job for those things, it takes a lot of the pressure off of your career.
Right.
So I started, podcasting, and that activated my learner.
Yeah.
So I, started life coaching. I love to teach. So that's part of my teaching strength.
Yeah. 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 And so, that is such an important thing to know and I think, I guess that's why they always say, have a hobby.
Yeah. Or have things that fill you up outside of your work.
And, number one thing that you just said was that, when we find our identity just solely in our work, then that becomes a huge issue because it affects our family and our whole life outside of work. Because then we're just consumed with just work. And then I think that kind of adds to just that constant stress because how do you focus on anything else in your life or enjoy the family outside of life too, or outside of work rather?
Yeah. It's like that Jerry Maguire movie where Tom Cruise says to, I guess it's Renee, he says, you complete me. And like all the women kind of swooned. We get into this trap where we want our job to complete us. And it's sort of like, it's unconscious, I think. But that's what I was doing. I was like, why can't they make me feel whatever, appreciated? Like I wasn't doing that for myself.
Yeah. Yeah. That's the nail on the head that you hit. That's the key, right? Is how are you finding your self-worth, right?
Yeah.
And who and what are you finding your self-worth in?
Yeah.
That really determines kind of your happiness in life because if it's based on others, if it's based on stuff, then you'll never truly be happy.
Yeah. What is the script in your head? And if you're unhappy, you don't like how it's going, how can you rewrite it?
Yeah, exactly. And so what are some of the reasons that you have seen as a life coach, as someone who has helped so many other people? Like, what are some reasons that people fear change or fear making those changes despite knowing they're in their burnout?
Yeah.
At the end of their ropes.
Yeah, I think it's our nervous system. So our nervous system wants to keep us safe, the fear brain, the amygdala. And so if you start looking for a new job or you ask for a change in your schedule, your fear brain says, no, that's not safe. Like, no, right now you have a job. Like, what happens if you quit or make somebody mad or they,
Yeah.
And so I think our fear brain keeps us stuck for a lot longer than we need to be. So instead of asking yourself, like, what is the worst thing that could happen? What's the best thing that could happen?
Right.
Like, how could this all work out?
Yeah. Kind of looking at the positives what the risk, right? It's taking a risk and finding out what's worth taking the risk, right?
Yeah. And what is the price if you don't? What will it cost you if you don't? If you live a life of regret, are you going to become resentful?
That's so true.
And so sometimes it is worth asking yourself, like, what would it mean for my life if I did feel the way I say I wanted to feel? If I say I wanted to feel fulfilled with my job, like, what would that mean for my life? How would that change me? And that's a lot of what I do in life coaching is just ask questions, because I do believe we all have the answers within us.
Yeah.
It's just like, okay, I need to tap into that inner wisdom.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, because the more we kind of delve into actually what we really are wanting out of life, we know what we want out of life. We just have to kind of dig it out.
Yeah, we're too scared to say.
Yeah. Yeah. Because sometimes we're too practical.
Yeah, we're too practical, or we put other people's needs in front of ours. Like,
especially
I can't
as
leave
moms.
my patient. Yeah, my kids. I can't, I can't pick up my kids late from after school. And if I start commuting an hour, that would mean, or I can't leave my patients, or I owe my doctor, so many years because they trained me.
Right. Yeah, the loyalty. Yeah. So how do you balance motherhood and career with all of this that you're doing? Books, life coaching, dermatology PA still.
Yeah. I mean, really, there is no balance. Like, mom guilt is a real thing. Like, there are days when my daughter's like, Mom, why do you have to do that stupid podcast? She's 12 now. So, I mean, I don't have the perfect life. My kids are often angry and not being very nice about what I do on the side. But I think you have to look at what your needs are. So you have to ask yourself, like, what do I need? And then you have to try to honor that, because if you ignore your needs, you're sending the message to yourself, my needs don't matter.
Right.
Like on Saturdays, I need to go to some kind of class like yoga or Pilates. I have to do things that fill up my bucket. Otherwise, I'm not as good of a mom.
Right. Right. Yeah. And I feel like sometimes, or maybe it's parents' generation. I don't know whether your parents' generation or like, I know my parents' generation is like always kind of differing their own.
Yes. Oh my gosh.
Their own pleasures or joys for the sake of the kids.
Yes.
And I think that mindset kind of sometimes trickles down. And so it's hard for us to kind of let go of that sometimes too. But it's so important to take time, like you said, so that we can have like a mental rest or some kind of recharge, or things that kind of make us feel like we're recharging in order that we can be better moms, better parents, better practitioners, better wives, partners, right?
I try to go to a silent retreat twice a year. And it is a whole weekend of just silence. And that's when I take time to like listen to that God within, just that like quiet voice. And I try to sit and meditate, just sit quietly every day for like 20 minutes. Sometimes it's 5, sometimes I don't do it at all, but you just make an effort, like A for effort.
Yeah, for sure. Like this Sunday, I just read a book all day.
Oh, that's nice.
I didn't do anything else. And I just made my little daughter just sit next to me. And I said, you read your book, I'll read my book.
Yeah, love that. Good for you.
I was like, I just don't want to do anything else. I just want to read a book.
I know.
And so I think, that's what we have to do sometimes. Otherwise, we won't be able to really enjoy life or even our purpose in life either, right?
Yeah.
If we don't take those moments.
And we do that with our kids too. So I've been married for 20, I don't know, 2 years, I guess. And we have a weekly meeting where it's kind of like a business meeting where we talk about appointments or yard work or whatever needs to be done. And then we also have a weekly date night. So our kids know, like, don't call unless somebody's bleeding or in the emergency room. Like, this is our date night. You're not invited. Don't call me.
No, that's important for marriage. And what else have you learned to create like a healthy marriage?
I mean, we go to marriage therapy very regularly for 12 years now. Yeah. I mean, my kids say we go all the time. But anyway, we go probably at least once or twice a month to marriage therapy. And it takes work. And we want our kids to see that, like, we're committed to this. It's hard. And we're going to have disagreements. We got in a disagreement this past week, and my daughter said, stop arguing. And I said, we're having a disagreement, and that's what 2 people do. And she said, are you going to get a divorce? And I said, Ollie, I know, this is what kids think. And I said, no, we need to have this discussion. We don't just shut each other down. We have to have this. So we try to make it like, this is reality.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's kind of the problem is people go into these huge fairy tale weddings.
Oh, yeah.
It's like a fairy tale from the beginning, and they think it's going to be a fairy tale forever. But the fairy tale ends.
It really does.
Once that fairy tale wedding ends, then reality hits and you realize it's not a fairy tale.
That's true. I mean, we've had to, you change. So we've had to get to know each other like many times over and over and get curious, be compassionate for the other person. It's work, but it's good. It's a partnership too.
Yeah. Communication and it's not giving up on each other despite whatever life throws and day to day it's always a daily kind of like discussion and work. But and so what else have you learned about marriage and motherhood, careers? Any advice that you have for moms in regards to that, or people listening in?
Okay, just hang in there. I know, like if I could talk to especially the moms with little tiny kids, just hang in there. Like this is hard, especially if you work full time. This is really hard. So give yourself a break if you need to. I used to say, I'm going to work an extra half day a week just so I can afford a house cleaner. And that made a huge difference. Think smarter, not harder. Like put in those Kroger pickup orders. Do not walk around the grocery store with kids in the buggy.
Oh my goodness. That has been a lifesaver.
if you have a partner, have a weekly meeting and talk about like, look, this is my most stressful day. For me, it's Mondays. Like I am not going to be able to cook supper. We need to pick up sushi. We need, you need to talk about all that, recognize where you have unmet needs. And figure out what you can do, whether it's asking or hiring or whatever. You need to figure out how you can meet those needs. Because otherwise, you're just going to end up kind of bitter and angry and depleted, like just completely drained.
It's exhausting.
Yeah.
And so you need to make space and ideas on how to make your life work for each season that you're
Yeah.
in.
I used to hire an 11-year-old. Now this kind of shocks me, but I used to hire a neighbor who was 11 to come to our house for 1 hour so I could go to yoga.
Yeah.
And she had a cell phone and her mom had a cell phone. So like that was the deal. You can't call me in the middle of a class, but you can call your mom. And then when I started, I would train for like a half marathon, and I would need somebody to watch the kids if my husband was out of town. So I would hire somebody to come over for a 2 hour, so I could take a 2-hour run.
Yeah.
But yeah, sometimes you have to figure those things out and just give yourself the gift of time.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Because time is everything, and there's not enough of it.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, just those are simple things that we kind of maybe don't really think about, but such important things to kind of just take the time to make plans and, ask for help, basically, or hire help.
Yeah,
Or
hire
ask for
help if
help.
you can. Our parents don't live in our town, so we had to like hire people.
Yeah. Yeah. And what other encouragements would you give to others in life and career and motherhood in
Yeah,
general?
so if you're at a stuck place where you're like, what am I doing? I don't know. You know what stuck means. So if you're at a
Mhm.
stuck place, use it as a wake up call. You have
Mhm.
to carve out tiny little slivers of time, even if it's when you're on the toilet, and shut the door and lock it. But you have to carve out little slivers of time when you can sort of zoom out and take that big picture look and ask
Yeah.
yourself, what is this trying to teach me? What do I know deep
Mhm.
inside needs to shift, but I've been
Mhm.
afraid to say it?
Mhm.
Because we all know it's just like you think, you don't want to admit it.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, because life throws a lot of wrenches towards us sometimes, but um, and feelings of being stuck is very common, and we do have to just take the time to kind of understand what can we learn, kind of analyze it logically, and see like what can we do to kind of implement changes, think about changes, um, and reasons why we are feeling that way.
Yeah.
Right. Thinking about the conversation so far, it's like even getting to that burnout stage, or figuring out if it's just stress versus burnout. Is it something that can be just healed or recovered from with a little vacation?
Yeah.
Or is it something that really we need to really kind of reevaluate and see what else do I want out of life? What
Yeah.
else do I want to do with my life, or what's better for my family, right?
And
Yeah.
if you want to work through some of this in a group
Mhm.
setting, I do a
Mhm.
group of PAs and walk them through,
Mhm.
the steps to healing from this stuckness.
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
sometimes it's better to show up in a group setting because you're going
Mhm.
to bring it in a way that you probably wouldn't if you were sitting by yourself.
Yeah. Yeah. Plus, you have the encouragement from a larger amount of people
Yeah.
around you who have gone through it and are going through it. So you're more open to
Yeah.
sharing. Yeah. That's awesome. So we can find you on your website, I think on
Yeah.
social media, and I'll have all of those links and notes in the episode notes area. And so people will be able to reach out to Hope Cook, and also listen to your podcast, the Physician Assistant Burnout podcast, and the book coming out in March, I
Yeah.
guess, right?
Yeah. Thanks,
So
Johanna.
many ands. But yeah, and so it was really nice to talk to you. And I think, like, it was amazing how you started all of this really just because that's your personality, your love to help others
Yeah.
is kind of what really took you on this journey to become a life coach. And I love that because it just shows your name is Hope and you like to share that hope. But it's so sweet, and how that love for others really allowed you to take this step and journey in life. And so
Well, thank you. I've really enjoyed being on your podcast.
Thank you so much, Hope. And thank you all so much for listening. And I hope that you learned a lot from this episode and will look into finding out more about Hope Cook as well. And I hope that you spark hope wherever you are in your communities and in your families. And I look forward to hearing and seeing you guys and talking to you all later. Thank you so much. Thank you for joining us on this episode of Medicine, Motherhood, Missions. We hope you found inspiration, insight, and a sense of connection in the stories we shared today. If you've enjoyed today's episode, be sure to subscribe and leave us a review. Your feedback helps us reach more listeners like you. Follow us on Instagram for updates, free downloads, and to join a community of like-minded individuals passionate about making a difference through medicine, motherhood, and mission work. Remember, you're not alone in this journey. Until next time, keep sparking hope, keep healing, keep nurturing, and keep making a difference. This is Johanna signing off from Medicine, Motherhood, Missions. The medical opinions expressed on this podcast are for the informational purposes only and should not be considered as medical advice. Always consult a licensed healthcare provider for personal medical questions or concerns. The views expressed by guests are their own and do not necessarily reflect those of the podcast host.